when we're talking about promotion and what we're going to use for the promotion mix, the most common question people ask is, how much should we spend? So there are many different approaches to budgeting. There's 3 that are listed on this slide. I'm going to mention one more that's not on the slide. The one that's not on the slide is competitive parity. Sometimes the way you set your budget is you set the amount that you're going to spend on your promotion based upon what your competitors are spending. And you may say, well, how do you know what your competitors are spending? You can go look, and let's say you are a bridal company, you go look into the local bridal magazines and see that they're doing a half-page ad. So then to place another half-page ad would be a competitive parity approach. So that's one. But the other 3 that are listed on this slide, and the first one is probably the one that the small businesses use the most. It's called the affordable method. You basically spend what you can afford. If you only have a certain amount of money left, when I work with nonprofit organizations, they say the same thing. They either have little to no money to spend on promotion. If you have no money, you have to be very strategic in how you do it. You have to use social media and publicity and public relations, some of the ones that may not cost as much money. But the affordable method is a very common approach, in particular for small businesses. The other 2 that for your larger businesses, businesses that have been more established for a period of time, are the last 2, percentage of sales and objective task method. Percentage of sales says that you're going to, because it's been a business that's been in effect for a while, you're going to have last year's sales and the previous year's sales. So you just budget based upon a percentage of your sales. So it is the most widely used of all of these methods. The problem is, and the disadvantage to this is that if you have a period of time or a bad year for whatever reason, let's take, for example, a natural disaster such as a hurricane. If you were to use that year's sales data, now in some businesses a hurricane might increase sales, but let's assume that in this particular example it's a natural disaster that caused a business to have a decline in sales. If you base next year's budget on that year's sales, then it might not be an accurate reflection of what you should be spending. And sometimes some would argue that if you have declining sales, maybe that's a time that you should invest more in your promotion budget to try to increase your sales. But it is the most widely used method. The final method that we're going to discuss is the objective task method. Actually, it's considered the absolute best method to use. And the reason is that you set an objective. You want to, let's say, increase your market share by 5%. Well, then you figure out the tasks that are necessary to achieve that objective. So you set an objective, you determine what you need to do, and that's how much you spend. That's why it's considered the best approach. It's a bottom-up approach. It means you start and you determine what your needs are, and then you allocate funds accordingly. Problem is that it's difficult to do. Sometimes it's difficult to actually determine how much money should be spent in order to accomplish a particular objective, or at least it's difficult sometimes to justify financially to be able to show that there will actually be a return on that investment. But it can be an extremely effective tool if you can do it appropriately. So these are the major ways that you can budget for your promotion mix, although there are others. These are the ones that you should be responsible for knowing and understanding the differences for each of these and why you might choose one promotion budgeting strategy as opposed to another.